Joining me now to continue this conversation is acting ICE director and former ICE field officer and director under Joe Biden, Todd Lyons. Director, thanks for being with us here today. Let's talk first about the last 4 years. Why was this done? What American voted for what happened? 50 million people not born in this country, accelerating who knows how many millions under Joe Biden. How in any way does that reflect the will of the American people?
Yeah, Will, it's scary because under the last administration, I was the deputy assistant director of the southwest border for enforcement removal operations. And, our brothers and sisters at the Border Patrol were just so overwhelmed. And at that time, we had to release so many individuals into the United States. And, that graph that you had up was, I think the most telling thing, right? Over 1,900 encounters of known or suspected terrorists that we know of, right? And when you think about those crazy numbers when it comes to gotaways and just the sheer volume we saw every day, and you just think of, we don't even know who's in our country right now.
No, Director, I think that our children, very possibly and very probably our grandchildren, will be looking back at this moment in history, really since 1965, but focusing on the last 4 years and going, why did they want this to happen to America? Meaning the America they will live in, their children are schooled in, it will reflect something vastly different. And I don't know how that's an avoidable future. I know you're trying right now to deport illegal immigrants, but I don't know how you could deport enough to avoid that future and those questions from our grandchildren.
Well, I think the big thing we really need to focus on those worst of the worst, much like that gentleman you were talking about, right? We hope the county honors our detainer. We hope they don't release him again. But this is someone that shouldn't even be walking around our neighborhoods, right? And here we go. We have another senseless, violent act committed in a sanctuary jurisdiction. That doesn't have to happen, right? And people talk about ICE being on the streets and making more arrests. If we just had elected officials in these sanctuary jurisdictions work with us to turn over these criminally legal aliens, our neighborhoods would be so much safer.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing, Director. I think everybody agrees, apparently outside of a few sanctuary mayors in blue cities across the United States, but most everybody agrees, get out the worst of the worst. I think the real rub is, what do you do? What does Border Patrol do? What does the Trump administration do with the rest of the tens of millions that came to this country illegally, that no one voted on, all of a sudden taking welfare services, education services, and living in the United States?
Well, Will, that's one thing you'll hear a lot of us always say, is that President Trump and Secretary Noem have taken the handcuffs off of us now. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to enforce the Immigration Nationality Act. We're not going to turn a blind eye to these collaterals that we encounter while we are going for the worst of the worst. If you're here in the country illegally, President Trump has made it clear from the start, you are going to be removed from the United States. That is our mission. We're bringing on 10,000 new deportation officers, 1,500 new Homeland Security investigation special agents. We are going to go out there. We're going to target these individuals, and we're going to make a significant impact, not only public safety, but we're actually going to enforce the Immigration Nationality Act, which Congress codified and have the ability to change it, but they haven't. And so we're going to enforce the law the way it's written.
Enforce the law which reflects the will of the American people. That's radical to ask of your politicians and law enforcement, when the alternative is let them all in, which no one has voted for and reflects none of the will of the American people. Director Lyons, wish you the best of luck. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks, Will. Good seeing you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.